All right, Eagle Nation, the moment is finally here. Super Bowl 59 between the Eagles and Chiefs, an instant classic in the works. Just 60 more minutes of football until we find out which team will be crowned NFL champion. So, who do you think comes out on top? Well, the Eagles got a couple positive updates today that should make you feel better, plus a couple new wrinkles in this matchup. But overall, we'll talk about this game and give you a couple reasons on why the Eagles can get it done on Sunday and ultimately avenge themselves from a couple years ago. Welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, smash the heck out of that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that noti bell. I am so grateful for all the support this season, all the growth that we have had, and we're not done yet. That should be the mentality with the Eagles. Maybe you can hear it, but I'm so fired up right now. I wish it was Sunday evening. I'm ready to kick it off. Doesn't it feel like it's been forever since they put up that 55 spot against the Commanders? Well, I'm so fired up, man, and we'll talk about this matchup, but we got to highlight just how insane this is real quick. Here is Get Up on ESPN. We've been talking about these clowns for weeks. Here's February 6th, right? They all picked the Kansas City Chiefs, and I didn't think this was real. I thought it was Photoshop till I went back and did a little more research. Here's the next day, February 7th. Here's today. They all picked the Eagles. You see how flippy-floppy they are? They do this all the time. We don't care what they say. We've been believing in this team every single week, and they're going to get it done, man. And these guys are not going to get off for what they continue to do. But anyway, we don't want them to believe in us. We want to be the underdogs. And to get this game done, everybody's got to contribute, and this team has to be healthy. And today, we got a couple more positive updates because yesterday, this came out from Lane Johnson that apparently 4 or 5 players are battling with illnesses. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell. But today we get a more positive update. Eagles DT Jalen Carter feeling much better along with other players and coaches. I don't know who tried to get these boys sick, but it doesn't matter. Rip up the grass, do whatever you want. Spy on us over the practice arena. I don't care. We're good. We're good. Give them bad food. We're going to go in there and dominate, man. I am so pumped up. Brandon Graham being able to give it a go looks like a good sign in this Super Bowl. Looks like he's going to return BG in his final game. I mean, the storylines just keep stacking up. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the injury report from yesterday. Still have not got one today, but everything's looking pretty good. Who's going to miss their chance to play in the biggest game of their life? I'll tell you someone who's not. It's our first key of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Saquon Barkley. And I'll tell you what, man, as the days go on, and I keep thinking about this, and I keep going back and diving down different rabbit holes, I'm trying to find a reason on why I shouldn't feel this confident, and I can't. I hate how confident I feel. I feel like the Eagles are the better team. I feel like they're going to go in there and dominate. And reason number one, as it has been every single week, is this guy right here. Saquon Barkley named Offensive Player of the Year yesterday at the NFL Award Show. A couple other guys got snubbed, in my opinion. I mean, Quinyon finished second in Defensive Rookie of the Year. Zach Bond was fifth, which is crazy. I guess they just think he's a no-name, but he has had an incredible year. I'm expecting all these guys to take it personal and step up. I don't even think Nick Sirianni got any Coach of the Year votes, which is insane. But Saquon Barkley, who didn't win the MVP, even though he should have, gets Offensive Player of the Year almost unanimously. And in this game, Saquon is going to be the reason that the Eagles can climb to the top. Because I went back and I watched the last Super Bowl and I noticed a couple things that I'll talk about today. But the one main thing that I guess maybe I didn't put into perspective well is just how bad Miles Sanders was in the postseason. Like, he had a great regular season, 1,000 yards, but the Eagles were not able to keep the ball away from Mahomes. They tried to play Mahomes versus Mahomes-like ball. You know what I mean? It was Jalen slinging it with his arm, trying to go toe-to-toe. You go back to 2017, Nick Foles did that. That team was a team of destiny, and, you know, they defied history, right? Brady had never gotten the ball back with 2 minutes to go and lost it, you know, and Brandon Graham ends up getting the strip sack. But the Eagles kept trying to match Mahomes, and he just rises to the occasion. However, despite what everybody thinks, the Eagles are going to play smash mouth football in the trenches. I know these previews probably get, you know, like a broken CD, right? Like, I'm saying the same things, but it's true. The number one key and the way the Eagles will win this game is by wearing out that Chiefs defensive line up front. Saquon continuing to be methodical, and then boom, he breaks off the home run play. That's what's going to happen. And Saquon Barkley in these playoffs and just the whole season has been unbelievable, right? And we look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They gave up 147 yards against the Texans. They gave up 149 against the Buffalo Bills. And that means they're giving up 148 average in the playoffs. Saquon has gone for 100 yards, 10 out of his last 11 games. He's had all types of records this season, right? 7 plays of 60-plus yards for a touchdown. The Chiefs do a pretty good job at stopping those big plays, but also, just like every other team I've heard this from this season, the Steelers, the Ravens, Commanders, they haven't played Saquon Barkley. Saquon is unstoppable. He's going to shred that defense apart. And you look at the playoffs, 119 yards on 25 carries, 205 yards on 26 carries. And last week, he only had to touch the ball 15 times for 118. So he's fresh 2 weeks ago. So I am predicting that Saquon Barkley, here's my bold take, I guess, is going to have 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think he's going to break off another 60-plus yarder because it's what history says. He just keeps doing it. He's that good. And I don't think the Chiefs or anybody else know how to stop it. So my number one key, Kellen's got to get the run game going early. Don't stop feeding Saquon. I know he likes to get there in the second quarter and, stop giving him touches, whatever. Just keep feeding Saquon. Give him as many carries as you can. He is going to destroy this Kansas City Chiefs defense. And that's how good he's been. Chiefs have allowed 7 games in the regular season over 100 rushing yards. Both of their playoff games have been over 140. So I'm very confident in Saquon Barkley. The second key to this game, once again, what I've been saying every single week, and you look at Jalen Hurts here walking off in that red confetti, just how disappointing it was. He played the best game of his life. Even watching it back, I'm like, holy crap, that Jalen Hurts was insane. But the one mistake, he fumbled it, and that really changed the momentum. In these big type of games, right, high magnitude games, the team that makes those game-changing plays usually ends up taking it back and winning. And that fumble, where they were up by 7, they were scoring at a high clip, and they could have potentially went up by 2 scores. That changed everything. Now the Eagles ended up scoring on the next drive, but again, you're battling Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts fumbling that ball and letting them return it for 49 yards for a touchdown. That changed everything. Jalen Hurts has only thrown 1 interception since week 4. He has not turned the ball over in the last 10 games in the air. And if the Eagles win the turnover battle in the last 33 games, they're 32-1 when they win the turnover battle. If they do that again, they are winning this game. And I believe in Jalen Hurts to play a clean game. I don't care how much he throws it, how much he runs it. I don't care if they win by 1 point or 47 points. If they win and he plays a clean game, give him his respect. That's all that matters. He can be the game manager and wait for Saquon to take off. So I believe in Jalen Hurts, and the Kansas City Chiefs, second best against running backs yard per carry wise. They're terrible against mobile quarterbacks. And that dynamic threat has allowed the Eagles to rip defenses apart on every level all season long. So I'm expecting Jalen to break off some big runs as well. Needs to protect himself. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to rise to the occasion. He showed you what he could do last week. He showed it in that Steelers game. If they need to throw, they will. But they're just going to ride the hot hand until it does not work. So Jalen Hurts has to take care of the ball. You look at Patrick Mahomes. He has not had that good of a season. I continue to say that, but Pat Mahomes, 26-11 in the regular season, and then in the playoffs so far, I will give him that he hasn't turned the ball over. He did fumble it once last game, but you look at this Kansas City defense, and I trust the Eagles defense more to make the big plays, right? Look at regular season. Eagles were +11 in turnover differential. Chiefs were +6. You look in the playoffs, though, the Chiefs have no takeaways. They're not that aggressive. They're not the type of defense to make that play. And meanwhile, the Eagles have the best at +10. And they're taking the ball away like crazy. So, when I talk about those game-changing momentum plays, honestly, I feel like the Eagles are going to make one. And if I had to give a bold take, I'm going to say it's either a C.J. Gardner-Johnson pick 6 or a Zach Bond forced fumble and runs it back. Both of the guys returning to NOLA. Great stories. Hope they can get it done. But again, I just look at the Eagles defense, how they've played. Yeah, Mahomes is going to make some of these improv plays, and you got to keep an eye on Travis Kelce. He's been playing amazing. But even going back to the Chiefs' last game, look at the guys that are winning these games. It's almost like, how did they win this game? By the way, this was their first game all year where they scored 30-plus points, right? And you go back to the regular season, it just kind of feels like they have black magic, Like they beat the Raiders because the guy fumbles the snap at the end of the game, or they beat the Broncos because they block a field goal at the end of the game. Like they have not played a lot of games where they just dominated like the Eagles have. And you got to give them credit because they've won 15 games. Mahomes, Reed, give them credit. But I just think the Eagles are a better team. Simple as that. And you look at the NFC Championship, all the momentum that the Commanders had riding into this game, and the Eagles have 7 rushing touchdowns. I mean, look, this team has the formula. That's why I keep saying the same things over and over. And I think the Eagles defense should be able to get to Mahomes. Maybe they can get a sack this time now that they're not playing on crappy field conditions, so we'll see what happens. But my last and final key, I would say 2 different ones, but they kind of go together. Coaching/aggression and kicking, right? If we look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll be honest, the one area I am concerned with is Jake Elliott. In the regular season, he was 77.8%, 28 for 36 field goals, and then he was 98% from the extra points. And when you look at Harrison Butker, in the regular season, he actually had a down year as well. It was a very weird season for kickers, but 84% and 93.5 on extra points. But in the postseason, Jake Elliott, he has missed the field goal and he's missed 3 extra points, and Harrison Butker has not missed in the postseason. So those kicks are going to come down and maybe even decide the game potentially. So, Jake Elliott, he's got to be money. And when it goes back to coaching, I think Nick Sirianni's done a very good job of managing the game. But in these situations where you have to decide to go for it or not, right? Like if you have like a 48-yard field goal and it's 4th and 3, are you going to be aggressive and go for it? And I think those are just going to be the impulse decisions that you have to hit on. Obviously, go back to 2017, the Philly special. Like sometimes you just got to make the tough decision, and you're either going to get reamed out when it doesn't work, or you're going to be hailed as the hero. So Nick Sirianni has to coach a very good game. Andy Reid's an amazing coach, one of the best, maybe the best of all time. If he wins this, he definitely will be. But Nick Sirianni's got to coach a good game, and he's got to know when to trust his kicker and when not. So that is kind of my final key and overall my thoughts on this game. But looking at the defense, looking at the Chiefs, the numbers, like they're just not overwhelming. Whereas the Eagles, I always say this, are an absolute nightmare to try to game plan for, because we talked about Saquon and Jalen, his ability to break off a run or throw one deep. And then you got AJ against Trent McDuffie. That's a mismatch right there, in my opinion. McDuffie's great, but AJ is probably the best receiver in the league. Devontae Smith, who's pretty much a wide receiver 1. Dallas Goedert has had 4 catches in every playoff game so far. I mean, you got all these weapons, man. And the boys up front, those monsters with Dickerson and Jurgens coming back, honestly, are probably going to be unstoppable. I just don't see a way the Chiefs get it done. So, again, I hate how confident I sound. I hate how confident it's coming off, most likely, to anybody out there listening to this. But I think Saquon's going to be a hero again on his 28th birthday. Shout out to Saquon. Shout out to DeJean. Both of them hopefully going to be celebrating not only a W, but a birthday as well at the same time. And when I think about this game overall, you know what, man? I mean, it's going to come down to a couple big drives, and the Chiefs really don't lose games by more than like 7, 8, 9 points. There was some stat I saw where they don't lose by more than like 7 points ever. So I was going to pick the Eagles to win by like 12 to 15, but I think the Chiefs will tack in a garbage time touchdown. I just don't think they'll have enough. And I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this game 34 to 26 in New Orleans to avenge themselves from 2 years ago. I think Saquon's going for $165 with 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to run it all the way in to the sunset, and I think Jalen is not going to turn the ball over, and I think the defense will have a couple big plays. So you can never put Mahomes out completely. He's maybe the best ever, and he finds a way all the time, and we know that from 2 years ago. But I just think the Eagles have the more complete roster, the more complete team. They have the formula. They know how to dominate, and they're going to do it again. So those are my final thoughts. Eagles get the W, 34-26. Give me your thoughts, score predictions, and all that and more down below. Hopefully we end this off with a W, man. We'll be live right after the game breaking it down. I am so pumped. I cannot wait. Let's go, Birds, man. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.